Please welcome Courtney Starr.
Motherfucker, I've been mortified, 45, feeling like a Mordecai. I ain't regular, feel like Jordan wearing 45. Traumatized, victimized, seen some of my die. Knock you off a base with a bat when them fly.
Okay, we've got Tammie here. She's a beast. We're going to be talking about programming. We're talking about her background. We're going to teach you guys a little bit about Tammie. So, welcome to my YouTube, first of all. Thanks for
Thank
coming
you.
on.
Of
So,
course, thank you.
can you tell us a little bit about your background? Like, were you always in shape? You look absolutely incredible right now sitting in your car. Can you talk a little bit about what got you into fitness, where your motivation comes from, and kind of your story?
Of course. Well, I'll just start with how old I am now. So I'm almost 58. And um, my fitness journey honestly started with my mom. So I have to really, all the credit really goes to my mom. I call her a legend before her time. I think she is a human fitness pal. That's just the way that she always has been. She raised us. I have two older brothers. She raised all of us in a very healthy lifestyle, home cooked foods. And we always had a really uh, our lifestyle was anytime we could get exercise, we did it, whether it was walking the dogs, parking out in the parking lot really far. So we'd have to walk, a little farther to the store. My mom and I rode bikes. And then when I was a sophomore in high school, she got a gym membership and her and I went every day after school. And that's really what started my journey in the gym with aerobics and and all of that. And it's just progressed from me just starting to weight train and then, having then I got married and had kids and so all that journey, trying to find where my fitness fit in there. So it's truly been a journey. I can't say I've been in the gym every single day of my life, but um a huge portion of my life has been in the gym. I've never been like a runner or really into sports. It's just really always been in the gym. Um, and then, fast forward to now, but then reversing maybe about 5 years ago, maybe 5 or 6 years ago is when I got my first trainer out of a boot camp that I was attending that the city that I work for was, um, I guess, sponsoring, if you will. So we got a discount on the boot camp. And then I found one of the guys in boot camp that was the trainer. I hired him to be a personal trainer. So that's when I really started personal training. And it was really just that. It was like an hour personal training session, one-on-one. And that's when I really got my first dose of, heavy squats and trying to achieve a goal. There was no meal plan or nutrition plan associated with that. So it was I just went, 1 or 2 days a week. And then that's kind of where my fitness journey um, started. And then, I had a few trainers after that, and they all had different backgrounds. So one was a bodybuilder and he did professional shows. So I learned completely different things from him. And then another trainer was a little bit more into conditioning. And that really helped me a couple years ago because with my age, I think strength, conditioning and strength training is really key. And even though we knew we were going to get to a point where I could do heavy deadlifts and all of that, he knew that he had to strengthen my body before I could do that. So certainly grateful for all of that training, but all along knowing that I wanted something a little bit different. I wanted to be able to um, uh, have my body respond to the weight training that I was actually doing. I felt like for a while I was spinning my wheels a little bit in the gym, somewhat doing the same thing. And I felt like maybe my body was getting acclimated to it and I needed a change. None of the trainers could get me to a meal plan. None of them. And although I've always ate healthy, and it's truly because of my mom and just how I was raised, and trying to incorporate, the protein and just the meat, just a, I guess, excuse me, I guess a consistent, healthy, eating plan, and that's just the way that I've always been. But knowing that I, I knew that there was a science behind all of that, but I never really knew what the science was. And it takes a lot of time to really look up all of that and research it. And the key is, I think, just finding the right person that already has that knowledge and explaining what your goal is and being able to target that. And so fast forward, got to know you. And so haven't regretted a second of it. And you've actually been able to achieve what I've wanted in what 5 or 6 months that we've been together than I really have the past, few years. And I've actually had a few trainers even in between that did bikini competitions and have had clients that have gone on to shows and things like that, but completely different style. I just knew that they weren't a good fit for me. So sometimes it's trial and error. You got to find that person that's really a good fit for you and what kind of service they're going to deliver and if it's really tailored to what you need. And sometimes that just in and of itself, trying to find a trainer is a journey. It
Yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot out there.
Yeah, yeah. And just with my age, that's a struggle just with my age. I mean, I'm getting older. It's
Right.
it's reality.
Right. So,
So
okay, so going back a little bit, I want to dig a little bit deeper on a couple of those things. So you started training with your mom and you guys were going to the gym for a while. So you've always been active. What kind of workouts were you guys doing together? So if it wasn't bodybuilding, you just hired a personal trainer a few years ago. There's a lot of time where you were in the gym, but without a personal trainer. Did you feel confident navigating a gym, and what kind of workouts were you doing?
the workouts that we started to do in the very beginning, because it was the 80s, was aerobics. That's where my mom and I started. Yeah. She was always into yoga, and so she did yoga at the house, and she did a lot of stretching and things like that. So that was my jumping off point at the gym was aerobics. And then we always seemed to do like cardio, so I was always on the treadmill. But we figure at that point I'm a high schooler, and I'm just trying to fit in here, and like where's my niche. And but I pretty much did what mom did, and mom did aerobics and cardio, and we did a lot of stretching. So that was really my jumping off point. Like I said, we rode bikes, and I know that's not part of the gym, but we rode bikes a lot, and a lot of it was intentional. It wasn't just riding the bike like our bike to the store. Where we lived at the time, there was a street that was a huge incline, but it was a straight shot from like point A to point B, and it was like 3.5 miles, and it was an incline. And on Saturdays, she'd be like, "Okay, we're going to go for that bike ride." Okay. But knowing that when I got to the top, I could ride downhill without pedaling, that was my motivation as a kid.
Okay, that's awesome. So cardio, doing what mom did, aerobics, I love that. So, and that's what you did for several years then.
Several. Yeah.
Then would you say at any point between then and now, were you ever overweight, or were you all or underweight? Were you always kind of like within that healthy body weight, normal BMI range? Or were you pretty consistent there?
Yeah, I was. I think heredity really, honestly, I have good genes, so that's always been on my side. My mom's always been, um, she has a good figure too. She's always been slender. And as a kid, me growing up, I was always skinny. I never battled my weight, never. But as I got older, knowing that I wanted a shape, still being skinny, I knew I needed some muscle development. But no, I've never had a weight problem. I think my mom's motivation to eat healthy and have a healthy lifestyle was her mom, which was my grandma, and she ended up having diabetes. And my mom had always said that she knew she didn't want to be like that. And my grandma was, always a little bit overweight. So I know that was my mom's motivation to live a healthy lifestyle and to raise her kids the same. And she got us there because it truly is a lifestyle. I don't know anything else. I really don't.
Right. Okay. So when you say your mom ate healthy, can you tell me a little bit about what that looks like?
Yeah. It was always home cooked food. It was always having food prepared. So when you think about it, it's like that's what we do now. We meal prep, right? She was kind of always meal prepping. She, like I said, she always made everything homemade. She always tailored a recipe. She reduced the amount of oil, sugar. Yep. If it called for sugar, she would reduce the amount. Um, I think back then the only artificial sweetener that was available was Sweet and Low, and that wasn't always a good fit to put in because saccharin, that just tastes terrible. So we didn't have the Splendas and the Stevias, and we didn't have all the alternatives. Really, the alternative back then was honey or applesauce if you wanted to swap like an ingredient swap. And
So
so
were you guys doing like homemade lasagnas and pizzas and pastas too? Like in addition to like, I'm sure you guys ate plenty of chicken and homemade burgers and that type of thing, but you ate bread and carbs and pasta and all that.
yeah, the bread we ate was all homemade. She made her
Oh,
homemade dressing. She made her homemade yogurt. Everything, almost everything that we ate was homemade. We didn't have any boxed food, no processed food, no, we really didn't have any fast food. We just never went to fast food. We just never got in the habit. Um, she always had things, I remember she always had things in the refrigerator for us kids to grab. So she always had like carrot sticks and celery sticks and, in water. So it'd be really cold in the fridge. She always had a dessert, always something sweet, but she always swapped out the ingredients. So she knew if we were going to eat something like that, it wasn't going to be as sugary. We had no sugary cereals, nothing like that. Yeah, so we had, the traditional meals. We had, the pastas, we had the rice, we had um, all kinds of meats, chicken, beef. She was a fan of eggplant, so she always made like eggplant recipes. So she did that. But we had, fruits and vegetables. So there wasn't anything that we didn't have. She didn't cut out anything of our diet.
okay. That's
Nothing.
super good to know. So that's the
Yeah.
thing. You say you have good genetics, but it sounds like your mom was on it. It sounds like because with her mom having diabetes, she understood it was lifestyle factors and she changed it for you guys.
Mhm.
I think that's amazing. So it sounds like you kind of adopted those habits, you kept it going. So you were in the gym, cardio, bike riding, lots of activity throughout the years. But I want to get into your job a little bit too, because your job has physical requirement standards, correct?
Yes, it does. One of the physical requirement standards for a fire inspector is to at least be able to lift 50 pounds. So that's like the minimum requirement. And I think that's kind of standard, probably across the board for many positions that you would apply for. Probably not firefighter, it's a lot more rigorous, but for fire inspector, yeah, I mean, that's kind of a minimum, being able to bend and lift and things like that. But yeah, my job is very physical, and it's also very mentally challenging because of the services that we provide. So you get challenged inside and out, basically. But yeah, it is physically challenging. We're field employees, so we can literally be in the field, meaning outside doing inspections all day. The uniform that we wear is black Nomex, so it's not very forgiving when it's hot outside. So we can be in 100-degree weather, and you know, then that's fatiguing because that obviously that just makes you tired because you're out in the sun and you're sweating all day. So we could be walking a lot of stairs, up and down stairs. The walking is a lot when you're doing an inspection, especially depending on what you're doing and what type of facility or occupancy that you're inspecting. So it can be physically challenging.
How long have you been a fire inspector for?
15 years.
Wow. Okay. That's awesome. So you've been a fire inspector, lots of steps, lots of activity, physical requirements. You're able to meet those pretty easy.
Mhm.
So when you decided 6 months ago that, you've had some personal trainers and you wanted to hire a coach, can you tell me about where your headspace was at, why you wanted to hire somebody and kind of what drove you to that decision? Because you look great. You looked great when we started.
Oh,
So a little
well.
bit more details on like what specifically you were going for and what you were struggling with at the time.
So what I was struggling with at the time was uh, my my actual shape, the shape of my body. Like I said, I've always been slender. I've always had a decent figure, but I could tell that because of my age and my hormones, that I could tell that that it was becoming a lot more difficult achieving what I wanted to achieve as far as reshaping my body with being menopausal. So I've been menopausal for the last probably 5 years. And I I know that hormones play into a lot of what your body does and what it wants to do, and it ends up having a mind of its own. And I think that the hormones really start to push against what you would want to do, as far as really even anything mental or anything physical. um, Between, having cloudy thoughts, cloudy brain, you start to forget things. And then, just as far as physical and being in the gym, I could already tell that everything that I was doing, whether it was a lot of cardio or no cardio, or heavy lifting, or um, a lot of lower weight, controlled, like, volume sets, a lot of reps and a lot of sets, to kind of get the pump. It wasn't reshaping my body, and I could also tell that I wasn't gaining a lot of muscle. I I keep referring to it as I was just spinning my wheels, but I really didn't know um, what to do at that point, because I felt like I wasn't making any progress at all. But I knew what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a lot stronger. I wanted to be able to gain that confidence, knowing that anything I wanted to do in the gym, whether I loaded the bar or not, that I could push it, pull it, and that I could get stronger, and then, increase my weight, or um, go on to be able to do a lot more in the gym by just strengthening my body. But in addition to kind of regaining my physique a little bit, um, because even though I'm almost 58, I don't feel old at all. Feel like I could be Mentally, I feel like I could be 20. I have a lot of stamina. I have a lot of endurance. And I think now, with what I'm doing now, with just the weight training and the meal plan and just having a consistent plan, I this is probably the strongest, and I'm saying that overall, the strongest I've ever felt, because I feel like, with my job and then working out on top of that, spending time meal prepping, spending time trying to do everything that I want to do to achieve this goal, it's taxing. It's you, you it, to have the mental capacity to keep pushing on and not give up. I All of that just has balanced out, and I just feel like I'm stronger than I've ever been. And I think a lot more of it is the mental strength of it all, because now I feel like I'm doing it. It's like I'm doing exactly what I've been wanting to do: is gain strength in the gym, gain the confidence, and then also reshape my physique.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that. I love that you put the mental resiliency too, because it's accomplishing hard things and kind of doing things that you weren't sure if maybe you could do. That's how you go on to take on bigger, harder problems and more challenging endeavors.
Mhm.
So when you were going through menopause and everything, when was there a point when you started getting your hormones tested, or you were like, I need to look at this? Or were you starting to consider like hormone replacement therapy at that point? Or how long did it take you to really look inside at your labs and your blood work?
It was about 10 years ago, my body started changing, and some of the changes that I was experiencing, I didn't realize was associated to menopause. And I ended up getting a book, and it was about perimenopause. Realized I was in perimenopause, and that is no joke. Everything I was experiencing was the beginning stages of menopause.
Can you tell me a little bit more about, or if you're comfortable sharing a
Yeah,
little bit of details? Yeah.
yeah. I had a lot of, I'll just say, weight gain in my abdomen. I was starting to feel tired. I was starting to get what I didn't really realize at the time was the hot flashes. Just but when you don't know, you don't know. You're like, what the heck is that? But the one thing that I noticed early on was just that ab weight, and I've never struggled with weight at all. So to have, like, I didn't really have a belly, but to have anything at all down there as a female, you're like, oh heck no. That,
Mhm.
like, what's going on? And so yeah, like I said, I didn't realize really what was happening. I was starting to have a lot of water retention, like swelling in the feet, and I felt like it was a mess for a while. I really didn't know what was going on until I got the book and then really read on it, realized it was perimenopause, and then made an appointment with my OBGYN. And then that's when we did all the hormone testing. Oh, I'll back up a little bit. There were times at work, especially, that I noticed that I would just hit the wall. Just fatigue would set in. And it would be, I always noticed it about 10 o'clock in the morning, and that wasn't normal for me. I would literally be in my car going from one inspection to another. And I remember sitting in my car going, oh my God, why, why do I have no energy? Like, and usually you would probably hit the wall at the end of the day, but I was hitting the wall early in the morning and I didn't understand it. But I was pushing through. I thinking it was something else. And apparently that's part of what happens in perimenopause. You blame all your symptoms on something else. And so that's when I realized, you know what, this is all adding up to be really weird. Found out it was perimenopause. And then that's when I made an appointment with my OBGYN. When I read the book, though, it was very clear what you had to have tested. And so I wrote down like exactly what I needed tested. When I went to my OBGYN, forgot he's brilliant. And he's like, oh, yeah, that's what we're going to test you for. Okay, good. Now I don't have to worry. So tested more hormones, and I was producing absolutely nothing. I had
Mm.
zero. I was at a zero. I'm all okay. Then it all made sense. So that just having that make sense gave me a piece of me back, because then I knew I wasn't going crazy. And that was the other piece of it, that a lot of doctors will misdiagnose you and put you on a sleeping pill because you can't sleep, or some kind of energy pill because you have fatigue. They misdiagnose, and because they never test your hormones. But I was very fortunate in having a good doctor, and he did, and he said, yeah, you're not producing anything. And I said, okay, I've tanked. No wonder I feel like that. So I started hormone replacement therapy on all three. I had estrogen, progesterone, and then testosterone. And then we have just adjusted it throughout the years, because of out of necessity. And so now I'm only on a low dose testosterone. So just to and I really don't have to be on anything, but when you go on a low dose of testosterone, at least you can sustain your energy, you can sleep. It can manage hot flashes. I kind of live through those just a little bit. Sometimes they come back, sometimes they don't, but I'm able to stabilize that, and I can function and I feel normal.
Yeah, that's good. So once you figured out what was wrong, I think that's important, the relief piece of that, because now it's like, you're like, what's going on? What's wrong with me? To now you have an action. You have actionable steps that you can do to fix it. And I think that gaining some of that control back is part of where that mental relief comes from.
Mhm.
How long did it take you, once you started the hormone replacement therapy, for you to notice changes in your energy levels and start feeling normal and better again?
Um, I started noticing my energy going up probably within 3 to 5 days of me getting that very first injection. What I get are the pellets. So I get the pellets injected, and the reason why I went that route is because they're slow to release. So they're a slow release, and obviously your body absorbs, whatever it's releasing. So it was about 5 days that I felt better, much better. I had energy. I wasn't hitting the wall at 10 o'clock in the morning. Um, and I was sustained through the day. I was able to work out after work. So it was soon. Yeah, I didn't have to wait weeks. I didn't have to wait a month. It was literally like within a week, I started feeling better.
Okay, good. I mean, that's good to know, because I think a lot of women are like, if the HRT sounds scary and they're afraid to do it, or they hear injection and they're like, oh my goodness, they're scared, but they don't realize that when your hormones are imbalanced like that, or they're off, or you're not producing, it has a huge impact on everything else. And
It does.
it's not as scary as what it sounds like. We're not, injecting bodybuilder doses of hormones into you. It's not going to completely just change everything. And I think it's important too. Some people are also under the impression that when you start hormone replacement therapy, it's just going to solve all your problems. And well, now I'm going to be in better shape and my body's going to change. And I'm going to have all this energy. And sometimes they think that's almost gonna like band-aid, and they'll let go of some of those healthy habits, or they don't feel like they need it because they have this help. But I think it's important that, the hormone replacement therapy, it works in conjunction with your training, with your menu, and all these other things that you're doing. Because when you're resistance training, and probably part of the reason it is that you made it so far and you were able to push so long before needing that support or before getting it, is because like exercise raises your testosterone, eating a high protein diet raises your testosterone. So there's all these things that you can do, like lifestyle factors, and that will help you, improve those hormones. But I mean, there is a point, like I said, perimenopause, postmenopause, where sometimes that additional support is needed and there's not really a way around it. And then you get it and you continue getting great results, and, living and feeling great. And like you said, better potentially than ever before from a strength and athleticism standpoint.
Hmm.
So now, okay, so you signed up, you wanted to change your shape. I think a lot of women who are in their 50s, they don't think that they can, even with, they've tried everything, they've tried every diet, even if they're on HRT or they're considering it, they're worried that it's not going to be enough because they've tried and they felt stuck, or like they were spinning their wheels for so long.
Hmm.
So when you decided, like, were you just going to try it for, like, when we first signed up, were you like, I'll try it for a month and then just see how it goes? Or where was your head at with, like, did you really believe that you were going to be able to do this thing after trying for so long? Or how is that mentally for you?
Well, I know with anything that I do, and I hopefully a lot of women can relate to this, you really do have to stick with it for a while, whether it's changing your meal or your diet or taking supplements, or for me it was the training. I couldn't just give a trainer like 30 days to work a miracle. I definitely had to, I had to give it a good shot. So whether that was going to be 3 months, 6 months, but I also know my body and how I respond. But I also didn't know how much more difficult it was going to be to get my body to respond, because it wasn't responding to anything I was doing. So I knew that, uh, I was going mentally, I thought, at least 3 months. I would love to be able to say, okay, I'm going to stick with a trainer for 6 months. But um, going into it, I thought, let me give it at least 3 months, just to see, well, first to start to establish that relationship with the trainer and get to know one another. And because this is, like I said in one of my check-ins, this is a partnership for sure. But yeah, I wanted to give it enough time to see a difference. And if over a certain period of time I didn't see a difference, then I would make that decision to do something different.
Right. Right. So, uh, for anybody watching this, Tammie just checked in like a couple of days ago, and it was bomb. She looks absolutely incredible. Like, I'm gonna put a picture up so that way you guys can see it on here, but front pose. But yeah, absolutely incredible physique, great shape, lean, everything. So we based on what we've kind of been talking about, we've managed to do that. You wanted to bring your waistline down, really kind of see what your muscularity was like. I know when we did your initial consult, you wanted to be like superwoman, muscles everywhere. You like that muscle athletic look. Because I asked you too, I'm like, a lot of girls, that the hot thing right now is like just legs and glutes and lower body only. But you were like, no, let's train shoulders, let's train back, like let's train all of it. And so we have, and your shape has just come so far. And like you said, your weight is very similar, but you're a denser, tighter version of what you are. So can you talk a little bit about your experience with that and how you feel and what you think has made the biggest difference and where you see the biggest changes?
Yeah. So uh, I think being a woman, I think a lot of times, our core, you know, I think every woman wants a really tight core. We don't want a belly. We don't want a flabby stomach. Um, and another, difficult area for me was always trying to build my glutes and my quads and my hands, just building my legs. I felt like I've always had very skinny legs. But really looking at my shape over the last couple months and not being very happy with, the way that I look in a swimsuit. I felt like I just had a little, for me, I felt like I had a lot of excess. And, being in those tighter fitting clothes where I didn't look as smooth as I wanted to, um, that was those areas just really stood out to me, and I just knew that I could be able to slim down and kind of tighten up a little bit. But again, didn't really know how to get to that point, whether it was going to be meal, extra cardio, or weight training, and like how do you do that? So um, I think that was probably one of our first conversations. It's like I need to slim down, but even though I'm already slim, unless you really know where you need to target, then I really didn't. You're really not going to know. It's not like about losing weight. And I already know that it's really not about the scale. It's not what that number says. It's about reshaping your body. And I knew that I could do that. I just needed support. I needed, obviously a trainer to be able to do that. But that was my goal. And I felt like almost within 30 days, I could already see a difference. And in my hips and around my waist and my lower abs, I could just feel everything getting a little tighter. And I started to notice that I looked a little bit different in, maybe a bathing suit or something a little bit more form fitting. And then the last couple months, when I look in the mirror, I'm like, I did it. It's like we did it. Yeah, I'm definitely slimming down, and I feel like my time in the gym, I'm not, lifting. I'm not in beast mode in the gym. Yes, I'm lifting more now, pulling more now. I'm adding a lot more weight, but I think what was key is you recognizing what my body shape was, you and I talking it out, looking at my body shape, what I wanted to achieve. And I really do think a lot of it was the food. And I really wasn't eating all these crazy things. In fact, you were feeding me more than I was eating.
Exactly. Okay, so that's one thing. That's where I wanted to focus your attention, because I have so many
Yeah.
women like this right now that are like in their 40s, 50s, even like early 60s, that I was feeding you more. And that was with your work schedule being so crazy, having a high job, and you're going from A to B, finding a way for you to get food and finding solutions so you could eat your food when you're going to these different fire inspections. That was the hardest thing I feel like we had to overcome, was just getting you eating all of the food, because you're like, I skipped meal 4 and I skipped this meal. And I'm like, all right, how can we shift this? What if we move everything down? What do we need to adjust on your plan so you can get all of your food in? But your brain, a lot of people's brains is going to be like, well, I'm not eating all the food on the menu, so I must be in a calorie deficit, which would mean that I'm going to lose weight.
Right.
But what you're finding is your best shape and your best physique is right now. And
Yep.
that's eating you more, eating the most consistently. You're eating more. You're making it a point to get that food inside of your body. And now you're leaner and tighter and more muscular.
Yes.
So yes, tell me more about like your crazy schedule and the food, and how that's changed for you and made the big difference in this physique.
So my work schedule is 4 10-hour days. We're there 11 hours, but we get the hour for lunch. So I'm there for 11 hours. And it's a very demanding, rigorous job from the time that I set foot in the office at 7 a.m. Usually, it's before that. And I get off at 6. It's go time. And my foot is on the throttle all day. I swear it never slows down unless I purposely slow down, unless I just stop and go outside and take a break and just, kind of shift gears for a minute. So knowing that, I've always been a fan of bringing my own food, bringing my own lunch, having that prepared. It's weird. It feels like a comfort thing. Like when I know I don't have my food, I get a little nervous, like, oh my gosh, there's really no plan B for today. What am I going to do? So I've always, I've been in the fire service for over, oh my gosh, 25 years. So, and even back then, a long time ago, when I started in the fire service in the 90s, I always brought my lunch. I always packed my own food because I didn't want to rely on fast food or eating unhealthy. And that's where my mind always was. So now I have the 6-pack fitness, bag. I even have a travel bag. So even when I travel, my food goes with me. But it's super easy because that's what you're so used to. So during my workday, I eat breakfast before I leave. When I get to work, I already have my times anywhere between 9 and 10. I'll have like a really small snack, whatever my snack is on my meal plan. And then I'll have my lunch, and then this is my day. And then my afternoon Starbucks with my my protein bar, because I pair that together. And now I get fruit, so I'm super excited about that. And then yeah, and then I work out at the end of my shift, and then I drink my protein, my shake on the way home. And when I get home, I have my dinner, and that's my day. But the food that I have at home is also pre-prepared, because usually by the time I get home after work, after my workout, it's about 7:30, quarter to 8. And so I pull out what I've prepared based on my meal plan, and then I fix my food.
Yes, and that's perfect. And I love what you said too. You're like, I get worried if I don't have my food
Mm.
prepared, because then it's like, well, what am I going to do? That's
Yeah,
because making decisions, especially when you're on a time frame, under stress from work, that you're in the moment, it is energetically expensive to make those decisions. So it adds
yep.
stress, it makes everything worse, it leads to emotional decisions instead of logical ones. So I always try to tell people the best thing you can do is always be a step ahead if you can. If you
Mhm.
are always a step ahead and you don't even let yourself be even, like, you're at work and you know that you've got food at home that's ready to go, that you're not gonna have to spend time cooking. It's like you stay ahead, and then all you have to do is show up and do what you need to do. If
Mhm.
all you have to do is show up and be somewhere, then everything else tends to work itself out, and that actually reduces stress and anxiety a lot. When it comes to when we started, and now we're getting you really consistent on that menu plan, because that was hard without,
It
to
was hard.
get all those food in. So how did you overcome that to be
Mhm.
like, okay, my coach is telling me that I got to eat these meals. I'm trying to be leaner. Like, did you ever feel like, well, it's okay if I skip because I'm trying to lose weight anyways? Did that ever cross your mind?
No, no,
Okay,
that never
good.
crossed my mind. When I
Good.
couldn't get a meal in for some good reason, and typically the reason, and I'm thinking back now, it was maybe a meeting that I was called into at work where, um, maybe I was in the room with people where I couldn't take my food. But
Hmm.
then there I might have meetings where, yeah, I could take my meal and they'll totally understand. So it was an environment where I just couldn't pull up my meal and just start eating because it was, it was mealtime.
Right.
So that was a skip right there. And no, I never thought, oh, okay, it's okay to skip. I would actually be a little bit irritated that I didn't get all my food in for the day, because that's not the point. The point is to get all your food in. And you might even feel like, I can't believe how much I'm eating. I'm going to gain weight. And you don't. I mean, I'm not on the scale, um, weighing myself, and I'm 10 pounds heavier. In fact, I'm thinner. I've actually, from the time I started, I lost about 5 or 6 pounds. I mean, and
Yeah,
that was seriously accidental. I wasn't in this for the weight loss. I was in this for the reshaping. So,
exactly. And I love that you said that. So you have like the most coachable mindset, because a lot of people will be like, oh, well, I can skip meals. That's just going to help me get to my goal faster anyways. So I love that you're not like that. And I think that says a lot. Like, you want to be perfect on your plane. You have a very coachable mindset, which speaks to your results. And yeah, it's the recomp. So we weren't necessarily going for weight loss, but we're going for more muscular,
mhm,
tighter waist, bigger glutes, rounder muscles. Your body, when you take as many steps as you do, when you're as active as you are, when you're as committed to the goal, you like training hard, your body is asking for food and nutrients. And if you give it that, it responds appropriately. Like, and especially too, as we age, right? Your skin can get a little bit looser. If you've lost body fat or your body's fluctuated a little bit, that's normal. But as you put on that muscle and it kind of pushes against the skin, you actually look tighter as well in those areas. And so I think there are some women who are on the more petite side that think they need to lose weight because they feel that loose skin, but what they actually need is to gain muscle and build some shape and density to push against their skin and make it look tight again.
mhm,
And I think too, that's why I always try to steer people away from being scared of food, because food, when you're training, when you're eating the right things, it makes you better, not worse. And it's really hard to get that mindset into people who are afraid of food or think they always need to be starving in a calorie deficit, dieting, tons of cardio. So I love where you're at right now. And so after your last check-in, we talked about reverse dieting. We talked about putting on more muscle. Really, now that you're shaped, so we brought your waistline in a ton. You've got oblique
yeah.
lines all the way down. You've got really good shape. We're focusing on building more density. And I'll let you talk because it's your body. So tell me what specifically it is that, now that you've kind of made it to this point, you did something that was going to be harder, that you didn't know how to do. What is your goal moving forward?
So my goal is, to absolutely gain a lot more muscle, become a lot more defined, and to kind of bulk up, I guess, for lack of a better term, to really bulk up. My Because I've always been so slender and I've always had a decent shape, I've always known that my muscles are there. I just need to bring them out. But, obviously that takes time. So now that I'm happy with my shape, now I know we can start building, like truly building. And
Mhm.
whether that's going to be more food or taking your direction and really get uh, get more focused on really how much weight should I be pushing, should I be pulling, because the conversations that I know we've had so far is it's really not about the weight. It's like not about how much weight you're pushing or loading your bar up with. It's about the quality. It's about, you know, being able to I've always lifted and there's always been that comfortable, like that sweet spot for me. Like, okay, this is enough. I'm afraid if I load up the bar a little bit too much, that's probably going to be a little bit too heavy and I'm not going to be able to complete that set or whatever. But mentally I'm just past that. Now I'm to the point where I want to build my muscle, and I'll start to train or lift whatever I need to start building that. If I seriously need to go into beast mode to just bring that out of my body, then I'll do that. If I just need to increase everything that I'm doing by 10, 15 pounds, then I'll do that. So I'll do whatever is necessary, but yeah, to increase the food for sure. And then, yeah, just to increase the amount of weight that I'm actually doing in the gym. So that way I can really start putting on some size.
Yes, I love it. So what would you say to other women who are maybe in their 40s, 50s, and because you have this drive, you're like, I want to be better. And just so you guys know, Tammie's never done a bodybuilding competition. She's not getting ready for a show or anything right now. So everything she's talking about is like for herself. And I think some people, they just, if they're lacking that drive or they want to be healthier or they want to be more fit, but they don't have a time bound goal and they don't have a show date. A lot of people without a show date will feel lost and like, what am I even doing this for? Is this worth it just for myself?
Mhm.
Where does your motivation and that discipline come from to be better and to want to be in super shape and be physically powerful? Where does that come from?
Um, I think my drive and my motivation comes from just my resiliency and my faithfulness to be consistent. And that's something that my mom always taught me. And I think that's where I really get it from. She always taught us that if you're going to do something, if you're going to try something, try for a while. Don't just give up right away. And so I saw her live that. I saw her with exercise. I saw her with supplements. I saw her with good food, all of that. And we never deviated from that. And I think that's, for me, that's the key. Like, don't deviate, because you're on the right road. Whatever road that is for you, whatever journey that is for you, if you just try not to deviate, you're going to have your one-offs. You're going to have your days that you maybe didn't quite make it, whatever that is, a skipped meal, maybe a crappy session in the gym, but you still showed up. And I think that's the key. You show up to do what you need to do. And that's what I do every day. There are days after work that mentally I am so wiped out that, bring on the stress. The neck is killing me. The
Mhm.
head is pounding. And I'm like, no, I'm going in the gym. I'm going to do it. I'm not going to go home, because we have a gym at work. And so I'm able to work out even before my shift is over. And then a lot of times after that, I go to the gym because I can kind of consider that my warm up. So just not tapping out, just not calling it and really giving up. But then there are days that it's like, okay, I really, I think you just have to be, for me, I just have to be aware. If I really physically need to go home and rest, then I'm going to go home and rest, but really just not deviating. Really try not to deviate from your plan, um, because I see the results of not deviating now. I see the results of sticking to a plan, whatever that plan is going to be, and I see the results. And now I think when you start to see the results like I did, that makes me even more motivated to go to the next level, to go to whatever that is. And I have this feeling the next level is my curiosity about, could I do something on stage? I already know it. And whether I think that that is just going to freak me out and I'm probably going to chicken out, it's like, I kind of wonder if I could ever do that, because I see women my age doing it. And I'm like, I could do that. That's
I
what goes through
love
my mind. But I'm
that.
like, I don't know, can I
Yes.
do that?
You totally can. And here's the other thing too. So I love that. And I think this speaks to is when you set a goal and you reach it, like you just did, holy crap, I just did this thing that I wasn't sure if I was going to do. You have the bravery to try and give it the shot. Let me try this. Worst thing that happens is I don't make it, I pivot, I try something else. But you had the bravery to try. Second of all, once you reach that goal, then you can reach higher. You're like, wow, if I did that, well, what's next? And then that's how you get to these bigger, greater accomplishments. And when it comes to with you dealing with all those things in a day, because I've been totally strapped on schedules like that too. And I don't know if you can relate to this at all, but I remember some of the feelings where I went to bed feeling the best, even if I was only going to get a few hours of sleep, were the hardest days. If I went through a day that sucked, I was running from A to B, I was behind on everything, I was completely overwhelmed, I was stressed all day, and I still checked every box and got all my shit done. I went to bed and I was like, oh yeah, like that feeling of accomplishment, that dopamine hit of knowing that you handled it, like it creates the sense of confidence. It's like you feel like there's nothing that can stop you. There's nothing that can get in your way when you are prepared. And when you do that time after time after 10 and you stack those wins, it's like you feel like there's nothing that could happen in your day that could throw you off. I mean, nothing. Like
Yeah.
you are that because it has nothing to do with the outside circumstance, but your ability to get shit done. And that's, to me, that's where so much confidence comes from. So I like, would you say that that's pretty accurate as far as like the long days and the hard days, as far as feeling good and that sense of accomplishment?
Yes. Yeah. Because I think when I try not to deviate, um, but I may have to pivot slightly depending on my day, depending on the circumstance. But then I weave back in. It's like, okay, I may have had to pivot, may have had to go. I may have had to do something a little bit different, and it doesn't throw me off. It's just a pivot, and then I get right back on. It's like I get right back into line. And yeah, those days that just are so full and they tax you mentally and physically. And like you said, I still show up, I check all the boxes, I still got in the gym, I still drank all my water, I still ate all my food. And yeah, you may go to bed completely exhausted, but it's a different exhaustion. You're not defeated. It's like, oh my God, this feels so good. And that was quite a day, but you did it. You
Yeah,
did.
because you're going
Yeah.
to be defeated. I mean, you're not going to be defeated, but you're going to be exhausted anyways. A
Anyway,
shit day is a shit day, whether you went to the gym or not. So
yeah.
you can either go to bed feeling accomplished or like, dang it, I missed or I skipped. So I think it's better to feel accomplished and
Yeah.
like you handled it for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, thank you for that. I think that's gonna hit with a lot of people because that's it too. People get overwhelmed and they don't understand that feeling of accomplishment because people will skip or use that an excuse to not go. And I think if they could just feel it a couple times, you crave more of that.
Yeah. A lot of people ask me a lot actually, because they see me leave the building in my workout clothes because I'm headed to the gym. And a lot of them ask me, how do you have the energy? And I say, how do you not have the energy? I'm not trying to be, but I tell them all the time, I said, because this is how I get rid of my day. I leave my day at the gym and I try to show up. And for me, it's a state of mind. I try to be in the moment. I try to be present at the gym. And sometimes it's hard because depending on what has happened in my day, those thoughts are still floating around. And I know what happens. My mind wanders at the gym and then I try to bring it back. But that's how I kind of get rid of my day. And I know that I need that for sure. And I need to have that physical exhaustion that's completely different than being exhausted, you know, during your day, during whatever kind of day you're going to have. Yeah, it's just it just puts you in a different mental space for sure. And that's what I need, especially now that I'm getting older, you know, because
Yeah.
yeah, I know we're talking about the gym and we're talking about work, but then there's life. Then you have
Mm,
your regular life and
yep.
whatever that could bring. So then you have those stresses. So it can be coming at you from all angles. And I think the gym, that's, if for me, that's my outlet. Um, and I know if I give that up or if there are days that I give it up because I just don't feel like it, that's going to it literally messes with my head. But I'm also not so what's the word I want? I'm not so stuck on it where if, like I said, if I've had a really, really rough day and I feel like I'm going to benefit more from just getting a good night's sleep than
Yeah.
working out, it's like you have to, I guess, just listening to your body. But yeah, just really showing up and trying to stick to your routine.
Yeah, and you know the difference. And the thing is, a lot of people need to develop that discipline before they can understand the difference between my body needs this rest and this is what's going to serve me best
Uh-huh.
versus I need to push through this and embrace the suck. You have to embrace the suck first. You have to, because then there's no way to know like what your body needs until you've pushed and until you know. You have to experience that first.
Mhm.
One thing I want to use, this is going to be so entry level for you because you said it so casually, but a lot of people, a second ago, she said she had her gym clothes and she was leaving work with her gym clothes. That's that proactive thing we were talking about earlier. She didn't have to run home. She didn't waste time driving. She didn't go sit down on the couch and then get her gym clothes on and go to the gym. She was prepared. She already had her next thing ready to go. She had her food. She had her gym clothes. So she could go straight there, get it done before she goes home. So that feeds into that proactive mindset that carries you kind of through every area of life. And that's part of how fitness can change your whole life in how your performance is affected as a parent, as a family member, at your job, wherever. The last thing that I want to leave you guys with, so I want to ask you this question. There's actually a couple. I want to ask you about your tank top, but also, um, do you feel physically, there's something that I try to explain to people: when you are physically powerful, when you are physically in shape, especially with the job like fire inspector you've been doing for 25 years, people respond differently to you. The world responds differently to you when you emulate this fitness, this health, this muscular, this I train, I take care of my body, and you feel different. I feel like when somebody's coming at you or insulting you, or you have a bad day, or especially when you're dealing with interactions with other people, even road rage, honestly, like people, I respond different now. Like things don't affect me the way that they did because I'm physically powerful in my body. And I know I can run circles around most people that would ever try to talk shit to me. Do you feel that walking around, or does that kind of play into your motivation as well at all?
No, it does. Being in the shape that I am now, and I know that I said it a while ago, I feel stronger now than I ever have. And the strength that I have, it comes from internal also. It comes from sticking to my plan and just feeling so healthy and strong physically. And that just boosts my confidence all the way around. I feel like I could probably, and this is not arrogance, I could,
No, I
on
know.
my part at all. A lot of times I feel like I could just run circles around, uh, you know,
Yes.
especially females that are probably 20 years younger. I'm like, I just run circles around you, but but that's not like mentally, that's not an unhealthy way. I just think I just feel so strong that I feel like I could
Yes.
seriously do it. And gaining the confidence that way helps me with my job because I'm a code enforcement officer, and people have a lot of respect for folks that are in uniform, and I have to emulate that. And yes, it does show that I take care of my body. And I think with the confidence that I can uh, give off, I give off a completely different vibe, if you know what I mean.
That's what I mean.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I give off a completely different vibe, but it's not that I give off an arrogant vibe or I'm better than. It's just it's just an inner confidence that you can hold yourself together. And um I think people pick up on that, and then they just end up having a lot more respect.
Yes, I agree 100%. And you're right. It's not an arrogance because you know what your capabilities are. It's not that, you know what I mean? It's not arrogant at all. I don't think that whatsoever. I do think that your presence and the way that you conduct yourself, especially when you are a professional, I think that being physically in shape and taking care of yourself, it plays into your overall professionalism and delivery and the authoritativeness that you carry like throughout life. And I think it is very respectable. And I think it changes your vibe in the most positive way, especially like when you don't cross over into that arrogance and it's just a confidence. It's just you know what you're capable of. You handle situations better. Your tank top. I know. What's up with the tank top? I'd say you're 100% fit. Was that a gift or were you just like, yeah, this is what we're doing today?
So shout out to a brand that I follow, and it's actually a group. It's a brand, and it's their name is Kind of Fit, Kind of Fat, making gains both ways. And I fell in love with this group. Um, you know, they have and it truly is and that's a mindset too, making gains both ways. And this group is just made up of several different people. This is the company that they own. This is the brand. I fell in love with it because their first uh, design on a lot of their apparel, it was a donut, and I love donuts. If anyone knows me, I love donuts. Yes, do I eat my donut? Yes. Do I have
Mhm.
to account for it? Yep, I do. But anyway, it was a donut, like a donut barbell, and then with frosting, and half of it was taken out like a bite, and then and I love that. I'm like, that is just the coolest thing. It's a donut barbell, and I just their logo just attracted me, and I've been following them probably for like the last 5 years, and I have a lot more apparel and everything, and they've morphed out where now every single design is food related, and I love that. So I have a, a shirt with a slice of pizza and the pepperoni or gym plates and the cheese ball
Yeah.
dripping, and then I have one that's like Oreo cookie, and just all this kind of stuff. And so I just love that they've incorporated food into their design with the whole the gym, with the gym equipment. It's like a mashup, and but the brand is Kind of Fit, Kind of Fat. And yeah, so that's I
I
have a lot
love
of their
it.
apparel.
No, I love it because I think the messaging there is like you can be in shape and still enjoy food and enjoy
Yeah.
life. 'Cause so many people think they have to just give it up. So I love that. So I had to ask about it. I knew there was something deeper there, but yes, like you can still enjoy food and be in shape and reach your body goals and all these things. So I definitely love that message.
Yeah. So
Well,
yeah.
alrighty. So thank you so much for getting on here and doing this. I think that it's gonna benefit a lot of women and you give a lot of perspective. Like I said, from somebody who's been there and done it and is doing it, I think it's gonna hit different. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you. I appreciate just the time that we've had uh to talk about all of this. Hopefully something I said resonates with someone. I know I don't often get to talk to women that are my age, as far as if they've ever, approached me or asked me, what it is that I do, or, as far as, fitness or eating or whatever. But I know that there's a lot of us out there, and I know that being my age and being in menopause, yes, it can suck. It can suck in a big way. And if you don't know what's going on with your body and you're fighting against going to the gym and not making those results, and you go every day and you're coming out of the gym looking the same, you're feeling the same, but you're not going anywhere. You're not really achieving the goal, the results that you want. And you just feel like you're going to the gym for no other reason than just to go to the gym. That can be really frustrating. And so hopefully, something that I said resonates, but it's all achievable. You just have to find truly what works for you. You have to either find someone that is supportive, whether it's a really good trainer like yourself, um, or get a gym buddy, or even if it's not the gym. My mom always told me it's not always about working out in the gym. It's about finding what you like to do, whether it's bike riding, walking, hiking, whatever. Just get out there and be active. So there's so many different options that anyone can pick. But yeah, as far as being someone, like I said, of my age and being menopause and needing a lot more, it's like I need to make more deposits than withdrawals type of thing, and I'm trying to do that. So whether it's eating, it's the supplements, the vitamins, just truly taking care of your body, it's the extra sleep, which I also recognize, sleep is a big deal. And I know that I know I need it. So just really finding all of that balance and not letting life and work get in the way of really what it is that you want to achieve, because it's like it's achievable. It is all achievable. You just have to start small. Don't bite off such a huge goal in the very beginning. Just start with something. Start with something small. Make one change in your meal plan, or make one change in maybe working out. If you're going for a walk every night, then great, and maybe extend that walk or go for more walks during the week. You have to start. There has to be a jumping off point, and then when you start that, you're going to start feeling better, and then that's just going to motivate you just to keep going, and then just to make even more changes. So